Good morning and welcome to another podcast of Iconic Freedom, the Formula. We are talking about setting standards for accountability and responsibility in this journey of personal development. Let each care for self and all will be cared for.
I'm sure Senator McCain must know what he's talking about, but when you say the alt-right, define alt-right to me. You define it. Go ahead.
Well, I'm saying,
define it for me. Come on, let's go. Define
Senator
it.
McCain defined them as the same group.
Okay, what about the alt-left that came charging at it? Excuse me. What about the alt-left that came charging at the, as you say, the alt-right? Do they have any semblance of guilt?
This is Senator McCain's statement.
Let me ask you this. What about the fact they came charging with clubs in their hands, swinging clubs? Do they have any problem? I think they do. So, as far as I'm concerned, that was a horrible, horrible day. Wait a minute. I'm not finished. Fake news.
Work out why and do something about it. Absolutely not self-accountability. This is something that's also missing. I take accountability for everything in my life. Even going to jail, although it was unfair, although it's a matrix attack, although it's garbage, it was my fault. I sat there and go, what did I do wrong? How can I learn from this? Where is my part to play in this? What did I do? Because my actions are what I have the most control over. I have self-accountability for everything. If a woman doesn't want to sleep with me, I don't sit and say, women are this way, society's that way. I just sit and say, okay, why? What can I change? So any man who's loading up porn needs to go have a long conversation in the mirror and realize that he's not desirable or as desirable as he should be or could be. I come from absolutely...
I had a very hard life that I didn't put blame on anything or anyone. I got through it. I lived through it with no blame.
Here's to you.
And I'm a happy person.
Here's to you. You earned it.
Cheers.
So some pretty interesting clips that we've got going there for today. The first one was Trump at the news conference after Charlottesville. Kind of an interesting, take on what he was saying to the media, that was very early on in his presidency. But what he was talking about is did the other side, did they have any guilt? Were they guilty on the other side of doing whatever, blah, blah, blah. And the fact is what he's pointing out is the equality of accountability. That in any interaction between two people, both people are responsible for their choices. And he was making a terrific point on that. That second one with Andrew Tate, I had done some clips last week from the interview with Tucker Carlson, and I thought it was fascinating that one of the things that Tate stands for is his accountability. And the fact that he owns every choice. And, the topic of this discussion this weekend is about owning it all. And then following that was the last one, which a couple of months ago when Tina Turner passed, I had done a podcast talking about her life and some of the aspects of her accountability. And I thought that statement from her was really beautiful. I found that from another clip that I had found from a different news thing that was going on regarding her. But what do all these things have in common? All of them have in common that people are taking accountability, that they're owning their choices. Now, you're going to hear this a lot. You will hear it a lot. People are out there and they're making their best attempt, some of them, to try to help others understand what does it mean to be accountable. But I will tell you for the most part, they really don't. They don't know what they're talking about. They're not understanding that extreme ownership, I think as one podcaster or author had described it, is that you are owning every moment, every choice in your life. That you have to say, I made that choice. I made that choice and this was the outcome. I made that choice and based on those outcomes, the possible outcomes, I have figured out that I'm able to manage it somehow. The idea that, again, life is happening to you instead of because of you is really a delusion. Life is happening because of you, because you make these choices. whether you want to take ownership of it or not is really going to depend on where your level of health is. For people that don't want to take ownership, that want to see like things are happening to them and they don't understand why people are behaving this way toward them, they're not taking ownership of how did they contribute to the interaction that's going on. Now, I'm not saying that everybody is in the situation where if you've reached a certain level of health that, this has anything to do with you. We've talked about that before. Nothing has anything to do with you. Nothing. Anytime people are freaking out, they're having a problem, something's going on, it has nothing to do with you. That's all about them. But what we're talking about is you examining self-evaluation, self-correction, that did you contribute to whatever the interaction was, which then created the outcome that you are now experiencing. And the fact is that you did contribute to it. I mean, maybe that's the secret to today's podcast is you did contribute it to the interaction. And how did you contribute to it? You did it by making the choice. You made the choice to interact with that person. You made the choice to say whatever came out of your mouth. You made the choice to turn your vehicle down that street. You made your choice to walk down that street rather than the other street. You made the choice. That's how you contributed to the interaction. It's not a value judgment, and I want to make sure that I really, drive that point home, is that we're not talking about is it good, bad, right, or wrong. You have to decide that for yourself in your own self-evaluation. But what it is saying is that you contributed to the interaction. You made a choice. Out of that choice that you made, out of your contribution, an outcome now has come forward to which you now have to respond. Now, obviously, this happens very quickly in your life, during your day-to-day with people. It's happening very quickly. And, you're just being yourself. You're walking around, you're being who you are, doing your thing, having a good time with friends and family and people that you work with, and humanity in general. You're just, saying hello to the people at the grocery store, that kind of stuff. What's interesting, though, is when you walk away from interactions, if it didn't feel quite right for you, if you were like, that was kind of like, that wasn't quite great, that wasn't really good. I didn't really enjoy that interaction. That's the moment to ask yourself, how did I contribute to that? Was there anything that I said that I made choices? Now, you may find that, no, I was being perfectly fine. I was just having a good time and just enjoying. If somebody got offended, they got upset, well, now that's on them. But it works well for you if you're able to at least have the skill set to be able to say, okay, I'm going to look back at my contribution and I want to see, if I had something to do with what was going on. Not that you are, in a sense, a cause of something because the other person is bringing everything of who they are to a conversation in a situation, but how did you contribute to the outcome? And you contribute to the outcome by the choices that you make to get involved in the situation, to step inside the situation. How did the guy on the subway in New York contribute to the situation? He decided to get involved. He decided to, subdue somebody who was very violent on that subway. Those are the kinds of things those are the extreme things that we're talking about. These examples that I played at the beginning of this podcast, those are extreme examples, but they're also very subtle and they happen in our day-to-day life. And so I think it has some value to be able to look at it when you're considering your accountability, your responsibility. Where did I contribute to these things? And own it all. That really, the more I walk through even my own life and I watch others, when they own it, when they take that ownership and they say, that's on me, it's very interesting how the dynamic will change between themselves and other people. And it's not that you're trying to take care of other people. We don't care about that, right? Let each care for self and all will be cared for. What we're talking about is how you are changing the dynamic for you to be able to use that information, for you to be able to create a universe that you feel happy in all the time. And is that possible? Absolutely. But you got to make that choice, right? To want to have that happiness. And you got to take extreme ownership, and you have to know where you've contributed. And I want to make sure that I recognize on this Sunday, July 23rd, 2023, I wanted to wish my sister Julie a happy birthday. I hope you have an amazing day and a year ahead. And I love you so much, and I hope you're doing really well, and I hope you've got lots of fun things ready to celebrate. And we are at the end of another podcast. Thank you so much for joining me. Hit that like button if you would. Share this with your friends and family. You never know what they might get out of this. If you'd like to subscribe, feel free to do so. You can do that on the website, link down below. My email is there, so if you have a situation that you'd like me to cover on the podcast, that would be awesome. I'd be happy to do that. Send me an email.